Meeting is being recorded.
Dan, did you want to call the meeting to order?
Thank you all for being here. We'll go ahead and get started. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, amendment or motion to approve the agenda is passed. Any stated conflicts of interest? I do not have any. Does anyone have any stated conflicts of interest? Okay, hearing none. We can go ahead and move on to the first discussion item, which is the Safe Streets for All demonstration projects. And thank you to Director Lewis and staff for passing along the projects to us in advance so we had a chance to look at those.
Evan, I think you're able to share your screen. Let me know if not.
Thank you, everyone, for having me. My name is Laverne Peaks, and I'm the grants manager with the town of Riverdale Park, and have been working with Director Lewis and the rest of town staff on the Safe Streets for All project. I came to this meeting a few months ago and told you about our outreach. This past summer, we did outreach at the train stations, bus stops, farmers market, and a few other places, talked to residents and businesses about what their traffic concerns were. And we got a lot of good input, as well as the information we received from the safety email. There were a lot of recommendations. And so what we did is to put all of that information together and to start selecting our demonstration quick build projects and what our studies could be for future projects. So this is a list, and I would love to hear your feedback on some of these items. So our goal overall is to make Riverdale Park safe for everyone to walk, bike, and drive. And that is how we put together our projects, is to look at it from a holistic safety point of view for walking, biking, and driving throughout the town. So quick build projects and demonstration projects are one and the same. Sometimes we use those words interchangeably, but essentially it's a short-term, low-cost safety improvement tested before permanent installation. So the focus is on speeding, pedestrian safety, visibility, and sidewalk gaps. So it's also paired with pre and post testing so that we can measure its effectiveness. And then when in the future, hopefully, we put together an application for permanent improvements, we'll have this data to use to support those recommendations. So here are some of the quick build tools that we'll be using: reducing intersection width, speed feedback signs, high visibility crosswalks, speed tables, cushions, LED stop signs, and left turn traffic calming. These are just a few things that we may use. So this starts our list. Madison Hill will focus on speeding, speed monitoring, adding speed humps, and we'll do the pre and post evaluation. The next one is Lafayette Avenue, which we received a lot of feedback from residents and businesses as well. So we want to reduce speeding and stop sign violations using monitoring and speed humps. We'll review speed data, citation and crash data, and add permanent measures if needed. Bill Circle close to the Wells Fargo. So we want to close the sidewalk gap by paving landscape areas, improve walkability with a permanent sidewalk connection. Riverdale Road, which has been a major concern as well, from Taylor to 54th, we want to improve pedestrian safety with raised intersections and ADA curb ramps. We're going to be monitoring crashes and speeding and implement permanent improvements. Site triangle and parking conflicts. So we want to improve visibility at key intersections by striping site triangles and painting curbs. We'll monitor parking behavior, add bollards, planters, or curb extensions if needed. Quinsada and Quintana sidewalk gaps and lighting. We're going to conduct an area-wide right-of-way survey and mark town-owned areas to support future sidewalk and lighting improvements. And that's all along 54th Patterson, Quinsada, and Quintana. Taylor Road, address speeding south of Riverdale Road with speed humps, compare speeding citations before and after, and increase enforcement if necessary. Along 54th Avenue, again, reduce speeding using speed cushions and a speed hump, collect speed data with radar signs, and to convert eventually to permanent speed humps. Madison Hill residents are also, they have lighting concerns. So we're addressing that by working with PEPCO on the streetlight specifications and identifying potential lighting improvements for that area. 57th Avenue and Riverdale Road, we want to improve pedestrian safety by installing a marked crosswalk, evaluate through community input and user feedback, and eventually implement permanent crossing. At this time, we've identified 3 potential studies. The first is Good Luck Road evaluation. We think this will take approximately 5 months. We want to review crashes, speeding, turn movements, and pedestrian activity near the high school. And we also want to know if there are some possible quick builds that we can do for longer term safety improvements that are within the town. I mentioned already the Quintana sidewalk and streetlight study. So again, we're going to evaluate sidewalk and lighting necessary, the right-of-way constraints and feasibility to identify improvement options. And we are also working on a Riverdale Elementary School safety study. We don't want to call it safe routes to school, but something like that. How can we make the route to school safer for children? So we want to identify any quick build safety improvements based on crash data, school arrival, dismissal conditions, and student walking patterns. And those are outside of the improvements we want to do along Riverdale Road. So how success is measured for our quick build demonstration projects. So before and after speed and volume data collection, crash and citation data review, community feedback and observed behavior changes, and results guide permanent investments in future grants and grant applications. And that is the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. I did have a couple questions. One, and actually, it's not about any of the recommendations. Like, I think all the improvements that generally make sense to me. One question was, I think at an earlier meeting where we talked about the SS4A update, there was a mention that the action plan would be, a draft would be available soon. And I was wondering if the recommendations came out of the findings for that plan, and if so, if we'll be seeing a draft of that sometime soon.
Yeah, we're pretty close to the draft being completed, and we're also going to put the results of our pre and post testing within. So we'll have a draft out shortly, but we'll also add these demonstration projects to the to our walk, bike, drive plan to have a whole plan for Department of Transportation.
Okay. And then the other question I had was a few of the projects looked like they had appeared on earlier lists we've seen. So I think like the 2025 improvements had a few of these on there as well. And I was just wondering if there's any, if you all could provide any insight as to why that was. Are we shifting funding sources around, or were these just better suited for the demonstration projects?
Director Lewis, can
I was
you
going to
answer?
say, if I can answer that. So some of the projects on the list that she reviewed have actually been completed. The speed humps on 54th south of Riverdale Road. We have a couple of speed tables in consideration of the buses that use that route, and speed hump south of Jefferson. Of course, this committee recommended the raised crosswalks, and we talked about the raised intersections along Riverdale Road, as well as painting the curb at Riverdale Road and Lafayette, and upgrading the crosswalk to the town's new standard. So we should have, as we went through that list, identified those projects that were came from this body and have already been completed or will be proceed as a demonstration project. We determined, or the engineers determined, that in terms of the raised crosswalks at along Riverdale Road at Taylor and 54th, there's some obstructions preventing us from currently being able to meet curb ramp standards. So we're going to have the engineers take a closer look at that as part of the Safe Streets for All program, and to make recommendations as to how we can proceed with those raised intersections. So that list was a combination of some of the road projects we've done, identified and completed, and then the demonstration projects that are still outstanding. Does that address?
That's helpful. So,
Mhm.
yes, am I muted? Oh, so that list from 2025 included things like SS4A and other funding sources. That's why some of them were already in that list. Is kind
Right.
of what you.
Right.
Oh,
The table that you received has more specific information about all of the projects that Laverne reviewed. Yeah.
No, that's helpful. They just looked. Some of them looked very familiar, so that's
Sure.
that's helpful to know why.
Right.
And then, if I can, just one last question. I actually think the idea of looking at Good Luck Road outside of Parkdale High School is a really good idea. And I was just wondering, since that is a county road and they have a couple of projects planned there, if you all had a chance to touch base with them yet to see if any of those plans are moving forward. I think after a student was hit there in 2024, they did some crossing enhancements, and then I know it's on the list for like a shared use path from Kenilworth Avenue up to Greenbelt, and all of those things would be great. I just wasn't sure if I assume this will be in coordination with whatever they're looking
Definitely.
at.
Actually, as you mentioned, to find out what's already in the county CIP. Because residents in Madison Hill have been asking for a crosswalk at Silk Drive, or so they can get to the north side of Good Luck Road to at the bus stop there. There's a clearing of grass, but there's no concrete pad for residents to sort of stand on, nor is there a crosswalk from on the south side of the street at Madison Hill. So we're going to inquire in the county CIP what plans they have for Good Luck Road beyond the work that they've already done, and then proceed with the study after that, if we need to, if those things are not currently in a plan to be implemented. The cross bus pad and all that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in,
Yes.
but I was going to say, I think the town, if we're able to help get some of those quick build things done in the meantime, or, help people be safer, like some of those projects might not be done for a long, long time. So good to do what we can to help residents in that area.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on the demonstration projects or the timing? So are we seeing Melissa's message? Her Zoom is not working. So, Mr. Chairman, if you're still sitting in for Melissa.
Saw the chat message, but I wasn't sure if she was in. Okay, all right. She is able to chat, but I will keep going. I was hoping she was here to step in because this is an interesting role. Anyway, I appreciate the overview of the projects and again answering the questions. I don't know if anyone else on the committee had any additional questions, but if not, we can move on to the next agenda item.
I do actually have one brief question. I was just reading over everything again. What is the what are they evaluating, or what are you evaluating exactly at Quesada and Quintana as far as the sidewalks and streetlights are going? What is the hope? What are you hoping to identify there to make changes with?
Well, the biggest question is where does the town's right of way end on those roadways, especially Quintana, 54th and Quesada and Patterson all have some sidewalks. It's not complete, except Patterson has sidewalks on one side from one end to the others. 54th, we have, a sidewalk on half of 54th and on the east side and other on the west side. And so the biggest challenge or the biggest need is Quintana, which doesn't currently have sidewalks. All the area is also without street lights. We don't know, the streets are very narrow there. There's parking on at least one side on Quesada and Quintana, or 54th and Quintana, and I believe Patterson as well. But we need to know where the right-of-way ends. And so the first step of that study is to do an area-wide boundary survey with markers, so that information is on the street for everybody's information, and then decide where we can place the sidewalk on Quintana and where we can place street lights throughout the community.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you, Daniel. Mike or Yendi, did you have any questions?
I don't have any additional questions, Dan. I appreciate the conversation and the clarification.
I was just wondering a little in terms of the study that they're doing at the Riverdale Elementary School. What exactly are they trying to find out there? And are they kind of doing like a study based on the people around it, or it's just like an outside person that is doing the studies? And the reason I ask this is because I know that when studies are done and the people don't live in the area, it tends to kind of change based on their experience and on different dates. So I was just wondering about that study.
You're on mute, Ivy.
I got it. Yeah, I realized that. We need to flush out the scope a little more. I don't know if you're prepared to answer that question, Laverne. It was something that we've discussed just within the last 5 or 10 days. So we really need to sort of build out or think through what we want to accomplish. But the idea behind it is that we look at the pathways or the routes that the students take to this elementary school to see if there are opportunities to improve safety along those routes. I don't know if you want to add to that, Laverne.
Yes. It's more the physical improvements on the route to and from school.
So we know already, it is, I believe you were involved in a conversation about missing sidewalks on 410.
Yes.
And so that's one opportunity to make an improvement, to make that route to the school safer. And so it's an opportunity through this Safe Streets for All to look for other opportunities to improve safety.
Okay, sounds good.
So we'll have to work with the elementary school, of course, to get the routes, the specific routes, as a starting point for the assessment of whether there are opportunities to improve safety along those routes.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you again, Director Lewis and Ms. Peaks, for all the information and all the hard work on this, and looking forward to the action plan and these projects continue to get installed. And if there's anything else we can help with, please let us know.
Thank you.
All right, the next agenda item is Mayor Yang assignment that he sent to us shortly after the new year, envisioning a safe and connected Purple Line Station area around the Kenilworth Riverdale Park Purple Line Station. I don't know if Jessica or somebody else was going to queue this one up, or if it was more of an open discussion based on the information he sent us.
Yes. Good evening, Dan and everyone else. So the mayor and Jessica and I had talked about that area. The council has been talking about that area. And as the mayor put in his email, we all know that improvements need made there. But what does that look like? And I've called things like this more of a magic wand moment. The mayor, in his comments the other day, said if people were kings or queens, what it is that they believe should be there. And so the SHA is looking at Kenilworth from south of the town up to Good Luck, I believe, for improvements. But I believe what the mayor is looking for is your expertise and not looking at budget constraints or right-of-way constraints, but what is it that would make travel to and from that area safe. And then in my discussions with the mayor, what we talked about was once the mayor and council receive a report back from this body, then staff will work with an engineering firm. We have 3 on-call engineering firms to put some renderings together. The engineers can be brought in between now and the time your report is done if you have questions of engineers you want to talk to. But really, this is about what's possible and what should be there, again, without constraints, and to think big, to think bold. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for this group with expertise to weigh in on what the vision should be. And so those are the conversations that I had with the mayor, that Jessica's had. Jess, have I missed anything?
You have not. No, you've covered it well. Thank you.
And so what's on the agenda are bullet points and that's taken from the mayor's communication to the committee. And are you trying to reshare the screen, Jess? Okay. Yep. And so envisioning a safe and connected area. And so I can say that from a staff perspective, we view that area not just to be the intersection of 410 and Kenilworth, but the neighborhood to the north, Quesada, Quintana, or Quintana, Patterson, 54th, and then to the area east of the river, south of 410. How are these neighborhoods being able to access that area? And then, as the mayor had put in the last bullet point is or subpoint, we have to anticipate higher density. There's 11 acres of space on the Riverdale Plaza Shopping Center. Most likely, a good portion of that will be housing in the future. What infrastructure needs and what vision should the town have for all modes of transportation in and around the station? Does that help, Dan?
It does. I like the idea of the magic wand or being king or queen. That is helpful charge. As far as thinking about just the purpose of the vision document or the report, in addition to like creating the vision of what we would like to see in the area, is the idea that the town is taking kind of a proactive approach to what they want to happen there, and then this will help kind of guide when opportunities arise or to pursue opportunities for improvements in that area.
Well, so I would say it's on several levels. So SHA is going to have their plan, right, for improvements along Kenilworth at least. And I want to think how I want to say this. And I think direct is probably best. I think they're going to look at living within their existing rights of way, and they're going to be very budget conscious. And I think that the town's position is that we need to look what's possible here. And if that means more right-of-way needs purchased, or if there's a phasing of improvements over several years, but ultimately what needs to happen here. Our residents deserve a safe community in terms of being able to travel, and we don't want to necessarily just the minimum, right? We want what is the right thing to build. And in discussions with the mayor, I believe his charge is, let's know what the right thing to build is, and then we can put some money behind that and take it to the state and say, this is the right thing to build. And how is it that the state delegation can get behind something? I will say my experience in government, it's one thing to talk about what needs to happen. It's another to put something in writing, and then it's even better to have renderings to say this is what we're talking about. And so I believe your report would be the catalyst then for then going to the next step. Your report, along with the renderings, would then be used to take to the delegation. And then it would also help on the staff side of things when the mayor and council say, this is what we want to see here. Then that's marching orders for me and Director Lewis and Laverne and Jessica and the whole team to say, how is it that we can figure out these projects? So I really think this isn't to sit on a shelf. This is to help the mayor and council create the vision of what should be, and then use that vision to put into action with the understanding that we're going to have to press the state on a lot of this.
Thank you. That was really helpful. Sorry, I'm slow to mute and unmute. And it's also helpful too to hear that we can have some support from engineers to help with some the renderings and other things. As far as, and I know this is largely directed towards the committee to complete, is there any envisioning of providing other members of the town or public opportunities to weigh in with ideas and things to add, or is this more focused on the committee?
It's my understanding, and we can see clarity from the mayor, but it's my understanding he's looking at this group as the appointed folks that have the expertise, and not to get a wish list of, oh, it would be nice to see this in the area, but what is it from your expertise that informs this vision? And so I think that it's more of an assignment for the committee. If the committee really wants input on a particular aspect, then I would say it would be good to talk to the mayor about that.
Okay. No, that's helpful. I was just not sure. Does anyone else on the committee have questions, comments, concerns they wanted to share?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So certainly, let me see if I can come on the video here. Sorry, on my phone, so my fingers are clumsy. So one probably the only concerns that I have are mainly kind of scope resources and schedule. So it seems to me like this is to me it seems like a pretty big ask, and I'm certainly not shying away from that, but I think it's always good to like clarify and manage expectations as best as possible.
Yep.
And I'm not necessarily thinking that I'm informed enough right now regarding the supporting resources to be able to like kind of get my head around exactly what this might be. I will say that if there are, because in the mayor's email it said like report, vision or framework, and to me those are kind of slightly different things, and report connotates more exploration, more narrative, more and frankly kind of more work too, in trying to pull that together and make something hang together. I think framework seems to me you can really call anything. I mean, but something like a vision or a framework leading to a vision or something like that might be possible. Heavy on illustrations, a little less on like minute detail, but a little bit more about kind of visioning what like different parts of this area or different aspects of the network might look like or might need. So I think something like that is maybe a little bit more doable within the time frame, because I think it was end of July was the suggested time frame. So that's one issue, and I don't expect any resolution on that. I'm just expressing that as a bit of a concern, is just making sure that we understand what the expectation is regarding what does the final product kind of look like, and the extent to which it has I guess how detailed a discussion and other things is the expectation. And then I think so that's like really my main concern. I don't know if anybody had any reaction to that.
I think those are good questions, Mike, and I think comment about scope and what's achievable in 5 months is definitely worth, like you said, setting expectations early. It's helpful to hear the perspective too that, you know, compiling some images or vision documents might be easier than a more detailed report.
And Dan, if I can respond. So Mike, thanks for your questions, all I think on point and deserve a clear answer. I do not speak for the mayor. So what I'm going to report back to him is perhaps there can be a conference call or something put together, a quick Zoom with the mayor and the committee just to kind of talk through after he has a chance to hear the report back of this conversation. I will say that I don't think that the date of July is set in stone as a to align with something else. But I do think that if we are going to be making ask of the delegation in that, it would be good to understand early in the summer, maybe midsummer at the latest, and have renderings and all that put together. And because then we have to begin that process on the political side. And we also, the mayor and council need to, the full council needs to receive what it is that your magic wand moment would produce there. Are we talking about, I don't know what ideas you all are going to come up with, but are we talking about lowering the speed limit on Kenilworth? Are we talking about having bump outs? Are we talking about tree-lined streets? Are we talking about the fencing to prevent mid-block crossings? Or are we talking about bike lanes, protected bike lanes in and around the intersection? And again, then how far outside of there are you coming in terms of how big of an area? But I think this is the first step, and that the mayor wants the resident experts of the town to weigh in on saying this is what we believe should be there. And whatever form that takes from your discussion with the mayor, the follow-up discussion, but we'll coordinate that with the group.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful, and yeah, and some of my questions may be a little premature because this is like the first time we've had to really talk about this, but I think it's probably helpful for y'all, but also for the other committee members to understand kind of where maybe where we're questioning and kind of trying to wrap our heads around the assignment. But I think with anything like this, at least for me personally, and I assume others are probably similar, is that having something that is similar that could, maybe be a little bit of a model to follow, or at least communicates like, kind of the depth and breadth of the report or the framework or even just the format that would be helpful for communication. That's all really helpful to get. So if people have ideas about like, what these things might look like and things like that, I think that would be helpful. I think the other question that I have, and this is not for tonight, but maybe in this conference call is, and Dan, I think you've alluded to this in the past, but with the kind of plethora of different studies and projects that are going on in that area, I think it's part of the task here, I think, is trying to get our heads around what the scopes of some of those things are, and kind of what are and not necessarily considering budget per se, but just understanding kind of like the context well. And I will just say for myself, I really do not, I don't think I understand the context well when you combine all the SHA activity with all of the purple line activity and also the town activity in the area, that I have a good feel for where this kind of fits, or what, and I'm getting an idea that this kind of goes on top of all of that. But I'm kind of not like this. The thing you're asking us to do is kind of something that would not necessarily try to get into the details of all of those specific projects, but would instead kind of be a bit more conceptual and kind of ride on top of that, those kind of efforts. But again, this is another thing that I'm kind of trying to wrap my head around. And I think it's complicated sometimes when you have so many jurisdictions and so many actors that are all doing stuff in the area and all have active studies, that it's hard, I think, to catch up and kind of really understand the context of what's going on. And so anyway, that's just another concern that I have, and we can, talk about that in the future too, but I just thought I would articulate it.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I could hear most of the meeting, and Dan, you're doing great. I will let you finish out the meeting, but I just wanted to say that the city of Asheville has a plan. It's called a GAP plan, and they did their bicycle and pedestrian network planning, their ADA transition plan, and they have this unpaved Asheville that runs between a bunch of different communities down there. But they did all three of these plans at one time because they incorporated a lot of the same things, like reviewing standards, talking to the city administration, working with the planning consultant who put it together. And it might be an example, like Mike was talking about, for us to kind of look at, skip the unpaved trails because they're not accessible. But I think it's pretty short and concise. I know that their council approved it unanimously. So it might be an example to look at. I'll find it real quick and put a link in the chat. But I think it's important that we come up with plans. I mean, we're way behind on the ADA transition plan, number one, which is of course my soapbox. But just having a bicycle plan and a pedestrian network plan, so that we know when we have money, we have goals, and we have locations, that we can really focus on. Whether we go start at each school and park and go work our way out, maybe sharing sidewalk costs with the property owners, making focused destinations like the Purple Line stations or downtown area. But I think just developing those network plans would get us a long way.
I agree, Melissa. And I am looking forward to checking out the Asheville example as maybe something for this. And do you think this, even though this isn't an entire network plan, this could be like a specific attempt at that for a specific area, and maybe something that
We are
could build on?
we are such a small town that we really need to look at the town as a whole, I think, and figure out how we're gonna, I mean, we can only bite off small chunks at a time, or maybe smaller chunks to help distribute amongst all of the areas. But I'd like to see us tackle the whole town at once. I mean, even if it's a charrette on a weekend or a couple public meetings, and get some maps out there and let people draw their priority areas and places of concern, and then go from there.
Dan, can I respond?
Absolutely, town manager. You can jump in whenever you like.
Well, no, this is your meeting. I'm a guest. And so Melissa, I don't disagree with anything you said in terms of I think we need a bicycle network plan. I think having plans to cover the whole town, and so when things pop up and funding becomes available for all the reasons you said. But I think there's more of a sense of urgency right now. And I think that's why the mayor has focused his uh, email and that on this area and recognizing there's only so much bandwidth. And so we can work into the budget and hire consultants to then conduct charrettes and to work with this group for a bicycle plan and that. And same with the ADA transition plan. I think this has come up and where there's this discussion about the purple line area there. There's discussion about 410 and 201, SHA's looking at things, but again, within their own constraints. And I think the mayor wants to understand from this group, not just what's possible, but if you had your way as the resident experts, what would the area look like? And taking in all those aspects, the ADA, the bicycle, multimodal, what should the council be fighting for in that area? Because there are the Purple Line folks are doing their thing, SHA is doing their thing. What is it that we should be pushing for? And I think the mayor sees a sense of urgency that we need to have a clear vision for what the area should be, and thus the request. But I don't disagree that all those other things need to happen as well.
And John, am I hearing in kind of the timeline too, the idea would be this would position the town well for next legislative session to be able to reach out to our delegates and senator to ask for.
I think, and Jessica's better versed on how we get things in front of the delegation and that. But we make ask at the we have a end of November, early December legislative dinner where the town, the mayor from I guess it's 7 jurisdictions. We all meet with the delegation and we talk about our priorities. But so any ask would have to be ready for then. But I also think if SHA is putting together their plan for Kenilworth, I think the mayor and council are looking to get information from you. Again, what should be here. So if SHA says we're fine with 3-foot wide sidewalks, or this is our plan. If it doesn't match what you all say, I think the council needs to know what it is that the resident experts, and I think that's what the mayor's asking for. What is it that you say should be here? And so they're able to fight politically for that vision as opposed to something that may be more modest.
That's helpful, and tying that to, I think Mike was making a point about we're focusing kind of on a vision for the area, but also it might be helpful to have the context of what's already kind of in the plan, and not that we're necessarily reacting to that, but it might help with kind of messaging as well as recommendations. To your earlier comment, my understanding this PSAP plan that they're going to present on in a couple weeks is very limited in that, you know, they're trying to avoid things like utility relocations and things like that, but they are doing specific sorts of safety countermeasures, and the other ones that they've done in other areas have been, they're not perfect by any means, but they are a dramatic step in the right direction. And so it does seem like the vision could help nudge some of that, but then also if that goes through, what is still missing or what improvements are still needed. So that is helpful. So does anyone else have any questions or comments? I know Mike and Melissa have jumped in, but Yendi or Daniel, any questions about this task.
Just kind of adding to what Mike said. When I first joined this group, it for me, I was just looking at it from a resident perspective, from someone that was concerned about safe walk to elementary school, middle school, and all that area. Now, once I started listening to all of this, it's like now I have to look at the entire neighborhood, and it kind of also put me on the spot of being like making decisions that are going to affect our community and for many years to come. So to kind of, it's in all honesty, it seems like an overwhelming project. I'm not saying that it's impossible to handle, but I think that from my perspective, it will kind of give me what I really need is more like clarity in the sense of how should we look at this project and how, I'm familiar with the neighborhood. I drive around all the time. I see what's going on. But in terms of now looking at how the purple line is going to affect the entire neighborhood, I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around that idea and see it with a different eye. So my question or comment is, how do one tackle that, and kind of train the eyes, but not only train the eyes, but also kind of see it from as a big project that it's going to be beneficial for everybody. I don't know if that kind of makes sense of what I'm saying.
It does. It makes sense to me. Well, it's a good question, and I don't have an answer, Yendi, but I would just say I really have appreciated your perspective, particularly focus on students and the school community. And I think
Yeah.
that lens and perspective, thinking like I've seen the picture of the purple line where a woman's walking with a child across Maryland East-West Highway to get to the station, and that rendering looks terrifying, and that crossing doesn't look great. So I'm thinking like if you can lend your perspective of how can we make this safer for families and kids to get to the station and things like that, I think that sort of insight would be really helpful for the town. And I think that's the kind of recommendations the town staff and council are looking for. But town manager or Station can correct me or add to that if I'm off base.
Dan, I have to say, I thought of the exact same rendering.
Yeah, and I think the town manager's description of our community and families in this area deserve accessible train station or transit station that has that people can walk safely to and bike to is very important. I know we'll talk about visioning in more detail later, but just there's still a long ways to go, but like when we're talking about that Kenilworth Avenue stretch, I think of what's happened in downtown College Park, and I think that area of Kenilworth Avenue near the station should definitely look more like what we're seeing there, where you have
Agreed.
more opportunities for people to safely get across the street, supports businesses, access to things. So I think there's some stuff coming that will make things a little bit better, but I think there's still work to be done from what I'm seeing from MDOT and others.
Yeah, as it stands right now, that intersection, the only word that comes to mind is uninviting, and that's our goal is to make it not uninviting, right? Uh, can I ask in the time from now till the next time we discuss this and have like a vision meeting and propose things to the mayor, ideas that come up or thoughts, where should we deposit those ideas so they don't become forgotten? Um, Is there somebody in particular that we should address this with, or is there like a repository of ideas that we should have that we're gonna hold all these thoughts until we have a meeting?
I think that those are good questions. So I also have a question. I guess we've been meeting once a month or once every other month, and I'm just wondering if we might need to have more frequent meetings or a way to share some of this content. And I know since we are a public body, most of the work is supposed to happen in open meetings, but I don't know if there's ways that we can put together some thoughts and then prepare that and share it in advance of the meeting so we can have a discussion at a future meeting. Yeah, I'm not sure about the best way to collect thoughts or share them.
So we have an email address, right? Jessica, isn't there a walk, bike, drive, safety email address?
Right, there's a regular safety email, safety@riverdaleparkmd.gov, so we can receive obviously emails through there. I'm just trying to think of if we had kind of a framework for a working document, we could have a shared document that we work on or come together at work sessions, mini work sessions, maybe even in between the main meetings. You can meet in groups of sub-quorums to discuss portions of the project. I think maybe understanding what the scope will be and creating some sort of a framework and then moving forward in that way might be the best steps forward. But Dan, as you were asking, we did establish the next meeting as in the second Monday in March, but we certainly can schedule something obviously between now and then with the mayor to kind of flesh out the scope component of that. That sounds to be really where you all have quite a bit of questions. And I bet as we end the meeting today, you'll think of a few more things and want to bring those to the mayor when we get together again. So maybe the best thing would be to get some availability from members of the committee. If you could just send me a quick email on days and times that work for you best, and we can work with the mayor and try to get something scheduled in between now and the next meeting.
And the only thing I would add on to that is because getting clarity is really important. I would suggest your availability in the next 2 weeks. So if you can share your availability in the next 2 weeks, and we can get something scheduled with the mayor so he can respond to your questions. And then in terms of how you all work together, I think Jessica's idea of having as many meetings as you want, sub-quorum, and it may be good if you all decide just what the area is, to find the area that you're looking at. And then we can put some maps together for you. And then you may want to go out there and walk the area and see what it looks like. And Daniel, as you said, it's uninviting. And I would say that it's not as safe as it should be. And I think that's the bottom line. It's not as safe as it needs to be.
Can I ask for these, because I haven't done one of these before, for these sub-quorums, do we have to consult in advance to get permission to hold them?
No.
Okay.
Just no. I mean, you all get together and talk about this. How many positions are there, Jessica, on the committee?
There's 7. We have 1 vacancy, so there's 7 currently.
Okay.
Small groups.
Okay, so 4 could.
I would say 3 probably.
Three, yeah.
No more than 3 come together.
Yep. And then it's not technically a meeting.
Thanks for clarifying.
All right. Any additional questions? I think the action item is to get a list of your availability over the next 2 weeks so we can set up a meeting with Mayor and Yang just to flesh out scope and address any additional questions we all think of as soon as we leave this meeting. And that we can continue to kind of engage in subquorums in the interim to kind of start fleshing out some ideas, sharing thoughts.
Hey, Dan, I had
saw you.
I had a
Yeah.
follow-up question on the availability ask. So are we talking about daytime, nighttime, anytime? Because I mean, obviously that would kind of change how we report our availability. So I assume we're talking about evenings
I would say
or not.
give us all of it. Sometimes the mayor has time during the day, but I would focus primarily on after business hours. I think all of you have full-time jobs too, so just give us as much availability as possible, if that makes sense. So if you've got a lunch break on Mondays that seems to work well for you, then add that. But Tuesdays don't work because you have other things going on. So yeah, just try to give me a general idea, and then we can try to work with the mayor to do that. It's always hard to juggle lots of schedules, but we'll do our best.
Okay, sounds good.
Sure.
So is there a way for us to meet? I mean, it's the open meetings rule that we have to be careful of. What if four of us want to meet? What would we have to do to make that okay?
So if you would like to have a meeting of the body is basically what that would be. We would have to post an agenda in advance, and that usually is done. We like to have probably 48 hours at least to have enough public notice, and then we'd have to arrange for meeting via Zoom or in person, however that happens, but we need to get that out to the community as soon as possible. So 48 hours is the absolute bare minimum. I would certainly say more than that if you possibly could.
And it has to be open to the public.
Right.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't have any problem with being open to the public because I mean, Laura has joined us today, but we very, very seldom have many people coming to our meetings anyway. But if only three of us can meet, I hate to cut a couple people out. Just, meeting in small groups of three, we're not getting everybody's ideas together and there's limited time.
And
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, Justin. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, let us know what you think you're going to need. And our intent is to make this as workable as possible for the group. So if it's easier to break it down into small sub-quorums, that's fine. If not, just let us know what you need, and we're going to do our very best to support you in making this happen. So yeah, Melissa, that's no problem. Just let us know what you might need, and we'll go from there.
I think at some point, and I think meeting with Mayor Yang would be the obvious next step, but I do think just having, once we have an idea of roughly the scope of the project, at least having an opportunity to meet together and discuss kind of, like you said, town manager identifying the boundaries, like general ideas, start having an opportunity to just kind of maybe brainstorm in person and people can bring ideas. I think sometime in advance of that March meeting would probably be very helpful just to help us get rolling. So, but I appreciate that you all are flexible and will help us figure out that if we do another open meeting by Zoom before then.
And did somebody mention that the open meeting for the Purple Line or for the Kenilworth on January 27th? I missed part. Trying to go in and out, but just want to make sure everybody knew that.
I think I alluded to it, but I think I alluded to it, but I think I think that would be a really good opportunity if folks are able to make that to get a sense of what MDOT has in mind for the area around the station with that particular pedestrian safety project that they're planning.
Yeah, the Maryland Highway Administration is having public information workshop Tuesday, January 27th from 5 to 7 at the Bladensburg Elementary School on Annapolis Road in Bladensburg. And my little flyer right here.
I think I emailed the notice out to the entire committee when we received it. So if you didn't receive it and you'd like to, please let me know and I'll make sure to get it to you. And we've been running it in our constant contact emails and sharing it on social media. So we announced it at the council meeting, just trying to keep everybody in the loop.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I think I had not seen it until you emailed it to us, so appreciate you keeping us in the loop. And the format they've done with those in the past has been, it's just an open workshop and they'll have kind of these giant roll sheets out with the plan and they will let folks add additional comments there. So even if you're able to only stop by for 15 or 20 minutes, if you're able to make it during that time frame, it's probably worthwhile to check out the plans.
Dan, if I could, before I forget, if I could just ask Director Lewis, can you reach out to the folks having that meeting in Bladensburg and see if we can just get electronic copies of what it is they plan on presenting? And that way, if members of this committee can't be there, we'll be able to disseminate that.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm excited about this opportunity. I don't really have a lot of additional thoughts right now. I think the conversation was helpful just to get a sense of what folks are thinking. I think a lot of Mike's, I will not say concerns, but just wanting to know scope and timeline and examples is really helpful. The clarification around how we can kind of have some quarter meetings or arrange additional meetings between now and our standing meeting in March is helpful. I have a lot of specific thoughts on this, but I'll wait till we have a chance to share. And we'll look forward to meeting with Mayor and Yang. But does anyone else have any questions, concerns, or things that are worth discussing?
Dan, the other thing that I had mentioned was trying to have a better understanding of the the resources being brought to bear. So I know there was a mention of consultant support. So when we have the discussion with the mayor, it might be helpful to have some clarification on kind of what that looks like and what resources might be available.
So on that, Mike, I would just say, as it relates to resources, if you could address those, any specific questions you have to myself or my staff team, because it won't be the mayor allocating resources. If there are resources that are needed, then myself and my staff team will need to know what they are, and then we'll work to figure that out.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
You're muted, Dan.
Thank you. Thanks, Jessica, for pulling up the agenda. I was rambling on, so you're all lucky I was muted. Last agenda item is walk, bike, drive, budget priorities, and continued discussion. I think we were asked for some ideas at the last meeting, and I guess this is an opportunity to raise additional ideas. As far as continued discussion, I think at the last meeting, Mike may have raised Melissa's prior suggestions around an ADA transition plan. I think Melissa mentioned some sort of pedestrian and bike plan. I think if there's any opportunities for including some budget around those items, I think that would be really helpful.
We're making sure they're on the list.
I
Okay.
second that. Just want to say.
So if in the next few weeks, if members of the committee or members of the public have ideas on other projects and priorities, you can email those to us, and that's at community_input@riverdaleparkmd.gov. And so we're busy putting the draft budget together, and it helps to receive input.
Can I ask aside? It's not directly related to budget, but just out of curiosity, the county installed two pads for capital bike share in town. There's one over by Queensbury and or Riverdale Road and 54th area, and another by River Tech Court and River Road. Have they given any updates as to if whether there'll be stations added there or timeline for those?
Not timeline. We were told that there would be stations added.
Okay.
And I think the last time that we had anything from them was probably about 18 months ago. And at that point, they said they don't have a timeline. So,
Okay.
but that's something we can check in with the county on. Because we actually, since Capital Bike Share came to town, we had been pushing for a station east of the river. And we were hopeful after they put that slab in, but that's as far as they've gotten.
Yeah, I appreciate if it's not too much trouble to ask them if there's any update.
We
I
will
remember,
reach out. It's not a problem, Dan.
I remember they had a presentation in the town like 5 years ago, and I was under the impression what was coming there. So when they poured the concrete, I was excited. But that's been at least 18 months or 2 years now, right? That's
Yeah.
the slab out there. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for that clarification.
Dan, I had one other tangential update request. Is there any updates on the Natoli Place and the realignment and town center project?
Nothing further than what we've made public, I think. I believe we've made public to the council that CSX is open to selling the town, the Maple Bunch Park and the Veterans Memorial. There's ongoing work, lots of background legal work and rights of way work. So we've contracted with folks to do those things, and so there's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that's going on now.
Okay, and thanks, John. And in the on the other side, are the two projects proceeding? I know we were doing them together. I was just wondering if both of them are, if this is a step that is basically keeping both sides of the project in the same place, or kind of what the next step for the realignment, the town center side was, or is that in the same place?
It's in the same place. We're working on all that behind the scenes stuff now. And once we have absolute clarity, then the designs will be furthered. And so we will be negotiating with CSX to acquire. We were actually impressed. CSX assigned a project manager very quickly, and they've been meeting with us. So we're pleased about that. And I think Rodney Tissue's doing a good job for us on coordinating those efforts, and he's working closely with Director Lewis. And yeah, Ivy, did I miss anything?
No, you did not.
Okay, thank you. And so that's where we are, and as soon as we have more that we can share publicly, we will.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's helpful, and um, I'm glad CSX is actually is taking us seriously. I'm thinking maybe they did that and then they punished us with all of the malfunction of the crossing, but maybe I'll just hold that for myself. So
Yeah, I don't think anyone's been happy with the malfunctions that have occurred, but I don't think it's related.
yeah, I actually don't think so either. I
Yeah.
just thought I'd make a joke.
Yeah, we saw some guys on the train get off and they were like tossing flares down to make sure the trains could get across. They did not look, and it was very cold out. It did not look like a pleasant experience for the CSX folks either when the gate was gone. Crazy. And just to clarify, John, for the budget priorities, if anything has previously made it into the CIP or the budget in general, like if we've seen something in a list of projects, you're not looking for us to suggest those again. Those are kind of moving along. These would be additional things, or is it helpful to hear like projects that are in there that?
Well, it can be both,
Okay.
because it's good to hear if you think that something that's currently listed is a high priority, because as with every year, we're going to be limited by funds. And so when we put this together, it's good to hear that, hey, I really think this project ABC is a top priority. It's good for us to hear that.
Okay. That's helpful.
Because we have at different times in the past, we've had to partially defund projects in order to move other things forward, and then phase projects where it's like, well, okay, we'll do the engineering now, but we don't have the money for construction. And so just sometimes we have to shuffle the deck.
Thank you, John. That's helpful clarification. I will keep that in mind too.
Thanks.
Any other thoughts, questions, concerns about the last agenda item? See Andy, no. Daniel, Melissa, no.
No.
Okay. All right. The last item is public comments. I don't know, Laura, if you had any comments or things you wanted to share.
No, thank you, Dan. I just wanted to come and listen in on your meeting. You guys are doing great work. Thank you all.
Always glad to have you. All right. I think that was everything in the agenda. Any final comments? The next meeting on the agenda is mentioned March 9th, but again, please get your availability to Mayor Inyang or the staff in Mayor Inyang so we can set up a follow-up meeting with him. And then we will, after that meeting, kind of assess if we'll handle some additional communication through subquorums or if additional full meetings would be helpful. So. All right, and partly when I was muted, Melissa, I was just saying that I do not envy this role of chair, and I am so happy you're here, and I'm looking forward to you being here in the future. And hope you all have a good rest of your evening. And if there's no other comments, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
Thank you, Melissa.
I second.
Thank you, Mike. Any opposed? All right, hearing none. Thank you all. Have a good evening. We'll be in touch via email and be in touch speaking with Mayor Inyang in the next couple weeks.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care, folks.
Bye-bye.